39. An unusual date with her, Jackie's POV. The moment I stepped into my duplex, a wave of loneliness hit me. I had spent the entire day with her family, and for the first time in years I felt that warmth again. The kind I had lost back in the US. The memories of my time with my own family were now blurred, distant, but today, being around her parents made me feel something I hadn't in a long time. They're truly wonderful people. I'm really going to miss them. And now I realize just how empty my life is. The silence was unbearable, and time seemed to crawl at an agonizing pace. I was restless, eager to see her again. "Is this clock even working?" I muttered, tapping my wristwatch. "Stop being impatient and take a nap," my inner voice scolded. Without bothering to change, I threw myself onto the bed, letting my legs dangle off the edge, and sighed heavily. But even with my eyes on the ceiling, my mind was playing a reel of her smile, her blinks, her soft voice, her blush, her anger, her lips. Here we go again. I exhaled sharply, shutting my eyes. No matter how much I tried, I couldn't shake this burning desire to kiss her. "She's going with you. Isn't that proof enough that she likes you?" my mind reasoned. But what if she gets angry and slaps me on our first date? Hell no, I shook my head. Remember how she was at the Taj Mahal? I smirked, thinking about that moment. And remember what happened after. Damn. You're an idiot. Just kiss her and get it over with. It's just a kiss, for God's sake. I don't know. Stop acting like a boy. Be a man. But what if you'll never be able to kiss her at this rate? Gah, this isn't helping. I turned to glance at the clock. 3:45 p.m. You've got to be kidding me. I groaned, grabbing a cushion and shoving it over my face to block out the sight of the painfully slow-moving clock. "Lavanya, before I leave, there's something I want to do." My voice was barely above a whisper as we sat in the restaurant, the candlelight flickering between us. Her red dress, her lips, everything about her was making my head spin. "What is it?" she murmured, her voice holding the same anticipation. "This." I leaned in, cupping her cheeks in my hands, tilting her face up ever so slightly. My lips brushed the corner of hers, soft and warm. She gasped, her lips parting, and I smiled against them, savoring her reaction. Slowly, I dragged my lower lip across both of hers. They tasted sweet, like honey. Teasingly, I nipped her lower lip, and she let out a soft whimper. It was exhilarating, but then something felt off. Her lips felt different, softer, thinner, like satin. I snapped my eyes open. And there I was, biting my pillow. What the hell? I rubbed my eyes and stared at the pillow, mentally cursing myself for being such an idiot. Shaking my head in disbelief, I glanced at the wall clock, then did a double take. Shit, I cursed. It was already 5:15 p.m. I leapt off the bed and sprinted to the washroom, freshened up in record time, then threw on a pair of blue jeans and a white shirt. Combing my hair at lightning speed, I grabbed my car keys and phone from the bedside table and rushed out of my duplex. As I locked the door and turned to unlock my car, something caught my eye. Something red. Lavanya. She was standing near her apartment building across the garden, watching me. Our eyes locked, neither of us blinking. She looked breathtaking. The silhouette of her scarlet red dress was impossible to ignore. "Oh, she's wearing red. Cut the crap and run. She's been waiting for you since 5 o'clock. My conscience scolded. My eyes widened. Damn. I ran towards her, completely out of breath by the time I reached. Gasping, I spoke in a guilty tone. "I'm sorry.
Lavanya's POV. I got ready, remembering that he had told me to be there by 5. After waving my parents goodbye, I left the apartment and glanced at my wristwatch as I went downstairs. 4:55 p.m. Why so eager, huh? My inner voice teased. I like punctuality. Really? Did you forget you're still an Indian? Not all Indians are late. Yeah, right. That's why you're always rushing to work. Oh, shut up. I stood in the parking area, watching the time and his duplex. 10 minutes passed, then 15. My patience started wearing thin. Why is he late? Did he forget? Or is he just making a point about how important he is? Tardy American boss. I rolled my eyes, crossing my arms as I huffed in frustration. 30 minutes later, just as I was contemplating whether to leave, I finally saw him stepping out of his duplex. When he turned, our eyes met. For a brief moment, I felt relieved. Then my irritation took over again. Instead of bringing his car, he ran towards me, crossing the small park in a rush. As soon as he reached me, still breathless, he blurted out, "I'm sorry." His tone was so genuinely apologetic that my anger melted instantly, but I wasn't about to let him know that. I rolled my eyes and looked away. Is this how you plan to make this evening memorable? The moment the words left my mouth, he froze. His eyes went wide, his mouth slightly open, his entire body stiff. Seeing his reaction, I instantly regretted saying that. Oh no. After a short pause, I sighed. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I didn't mean it that way. Great. Now you're the one apologizing, my inner voice mocked. He blinked and let out a loud sigh of relief. Jesus Christ, you scared the hell out of me. I thought you were going to cancel the date. Date? Did he just say what? I asked, feeling suddenly awkward, as if I hadn't heard him properly. His eyes widened and he started babbling. The outing, like going out with, having fun, and he shut his eyes, shaking his head with a loud sigh before finally asking, "We're still going out, right?" His voice was so innocent that I couldn't find the courage to say no. "Of course we are," I said, and he smiled. "Okay, just a sec. I'll be back with my car like I promised." He sprinted back toward his car like an athlete, started the engine, and drove up to me. As soon as he stopped, I walked over and took the passenger seat. He grinned before smoothly pulling out of the community gate and onto the road. "So, where should I take you?" he asked, glancing at me. "Tell me your favorite restaurant, and we'll go there." "I don't have a favorite restaurant," I replied, shrugging. "Oh, what about a favorite food?" "I like Chinese, but with Indian spices." I pursed my lips as I answered, and he chuckled. "You just can't live without spices, can you?" he teased. I giggled, nodding in agreement. Then where should I take you?" He seemed deep in thought. "Do you want to see the real India?" I asked excitedly. "Real India? What's that?" He furrowed his brows, glancing at me. "I know a place where you can get authentic Indian food and experience the real vibe of the people. It's your choice, yes or no." After glancing at me twice, he replied, "Yes, now I'm dying to see this place, just because of your excitement." He smirked, raising an eyebrow. "Then drive where I guide you," I commanded like a queen, turning back to the road. "Sure, miss, where to?" He chuckled, leaning slightly toward me and giving a mock bow. I narrowed my eyes at him. A Titanic fan? "Not to the stars, just turn left," I said with a knowing look. He chuckled, shaking his head, and I guided him along the way. Within 20 minutes, we reached the place.
Jackie's POV. As we arrived, I quickly realized there was no space for parking. The entire area was packed with people. "Where the hell am I supposed to park?" "There's no room," I muttered, frowning as I looked around at the crowd. "Take the car back. We'll park over there and walk," she advised, pointing toward an open area near a ground. "You mean we have to walk through this crowd?" I asked, raising an amused eyebrow and gesturing at the throng of people. "Yes, now hurry." She was firm, and after a short pause, I sighed and followed her instructions. We parked the car a little far from the main area and started walking. "Jesus Christ!" I winced as someone from the crowd bumped into my right arm. "Careful, he might be a pickpocket," she warned, and my eyes widened in horror as I immediately checked my pocket for my wallet. Are you serious? I asked in disbelief. She raised both eyebrows and gave me a knowing nod. Thank God my wallet is safe. Why are we even here in a place like this? I asked, feeling a little out of place. You'll find out soon enough, she said proudly. As we passed through the entrance, where people were either exiting or squeezing in beside us, I took in the scene around me. Brightly colored rides spun in the distance, children clutched balloons and toy guns, and rows of small stalls displayed clothes, footwear, and a variety of fancy items. Somewhere across the field, loud music blared from speakers, adding to the vibrant chaos. It looked like a fair. What is this place? I asked, looking around at the vibrant chaos. Meena Bazaar, she answered with a grin, her eyes shining under the colorful lights. Not the exact Shah Jahan Mumtaz one, but generally an Indian fair is called a Meena Bazaar. People sell all kinds of products at cheaper prices, and the street food here tastes like heaven. She inhaled deeply as if taking in the fragrance of the food. Let's go! I think... Before I could finish, she slipped her right hand around my left and pulled me into the crowd. Well, I was about to say we could go to a calmer, more decent place, but now I don't. As we walked through the bustling fair, my focus was entirely on my left hand, which was wrapped in her soft one. A smirk crept onto my lips. But the moment she let go, my smile faded and a slight frown replaced it. Then I realized we had stopped walking. We had reached a stall where a short man was busy preparing something with his bare hands. A crowd of ladies, kids, and men stood around him, as if he were about to perform a magic trick. Some of them were staring at me, which felt unsettling. I blinked and quickly averted my gaze. What are we doing here? I asked her, raising my voice over the loud music and chatter. Waiting for the pani puri to be served, she replied, her eyes fixed on the stall as the vendor poured some kind of gravy into a bowl. People around us held small paper bowls, including Lavanya. Their eyes, however, were still on me, as if I were some kind of spectacle. Why are they staring at me like that? I muttered through clenched teeth. Because you're a foreigner. You're like an alien to them, she replied so casually that I shot her a look, but she was too focused on the food to notice. Seriously? Haya thoda kamtika dena, she said to the vendor, who didn't even glance at her in response. The man finished preparing the mixture and grabbed a round, hollow snack, punching a hole in the top before filling it with the spicy mixture. Then he dipped it into a dark brown liquid before handing it to a woman beside him. He repeated the process with others, including Lavanya. As soon as she got hers, she popped the whole thing into her mouth. My eyes widened in disbelief. How? That thing is huge. A little of the brown water dribbled from the corner of her mouth, and she wiped it away with the back of her index finger, before closing her eyes in delight as she chewed. I smiled, observing her obvious enjoyment. You really like this, don't you? She shook her head. I love this. Grabbing another one, she held out her bowl toward me. Here, try this. Oh, no. I shook my head immediately, staring at the vendor's bare hands. Come on, I wanted you to taste some street food, she insisted. I'm not sure. I eyed the crispy ball filled with an overwhelming amount of spices and that questionable brown water. Please, she pleaded softly. That is it. That was how women made men do whatever they wanted. This word, please, is dangerous. God help me. Sighing loudly, I took the crispy ball and bit half of it. Instantly, my mouth and chin were a mess with the filling spilling out. I quickly wiped it away, but Lavanya shook her head in disapproval. That is not the right way to eat pani puri, she scolded. Taking another crispy ball, she held it up. Open your mouth. Huh. I hesitated, glancing around. Open your mouth, she ordered again, motioning the pani puri toward me. Before I could protest, she shoved the whole thing into my mouth. My mouth was completely full and the spicy liquid started dripping from my lips. But before it could fall, she held the bowl under my chin to catch it. Then, without hesitation, she used her thumb to wipe my chin. I stared at her, overwhelmed by the simple intimacy of the moment. But before I could dwell on it, the full force of the spices hit me. The taste was a wild combination. Crispy, sweet, sour, spicy, and juicy all at once. My senses were completely overloaded. The next thing I knew, I was choking. I started coughing vigorously, my throat on fire. She patted my back, quickly handing me a mug of water. I gulped it down. Are you okay? She asked, concerned. Yeah. Ahem. It's too spicy, I rasped, my voice rough. She giggled. But nice taste. I nodded, trying to recover. She effortlessly ate 9 of them, while I struggled to finish 4. I was breathing heavily through my mouth, trying to cool the burn. Meanwhile, she paid for the food as I was too busy surviving. Come, I know how to get rid of that burn. She grabbed my hand and led me to another stall, this one far less crowded. Haya, do malai kulfi? She ordered, and the man behind the stall quickly started preparing them. Now, what's this? I asked between labored breaths. It's kind of an ice cream, she explained with a sweet smile. You'll like it. Thank God, finally, something without spice. The vendor handed her 2 ice cream bars, and she passed one to me. I took a bite. It was colder than any ice cream I had ever tasted, almost numbing, but it was a lifesaver. The sweet, creamy flavor instantly neutralized the lingering burn in my mouth. This is really good, I said, nodding in appreciation. This time we both ate 2. I paid, and we continued wandering through the bazaar. Just as we reached another stall, a loud whistle sound practically tore through my right ear. I turned sharply to find a small boy selling colorful whistles that made all sorts of funny noises. I chuckled at the sight before turning to Lavanya, only to find her deep in an intense bargaining session with a street vendor over a scarf. She looked on the verge of losing her patience. God, this girl. Shaking my head, I stepped in to interrupt. Hey. Calm down, love. I grabbed her arm and gently pulled her back. Stop bargaining. You're with me, you can buy anything at any price, I whispered, feeling slightly embarrassed as people started glancing our way. I can also buy, but I won't overpay for a single scarf. She shot back before turning right back to her argument out with the seller. I sighed. I knew this debate was going nowhere. I didn't come here to watch her fight over a scarf. I wanted to spend time with her, not this street vendor.
Lavanya's POV. अरे बहाया, बोला ना 200 रुपए दूंगी बास. पाक दो ये पैसे और दे दो मुझे ये scarf. I firmly offered the vendor 200 rupees, demanding the blush pink scarf. It was a beautiful color, but he was still unwilling to budge from his price of 250. Nahi madam, nahi chalega. The man refused. Kiya baya, up. Hello mister, I'll take all these scarves. How much? Mr. Dawson suddenly asked the seller, pointing at the various colored scarves hanging in the stall. The vendor glanced at me with his mouth open in shock, then turned back to Mr. Dawson. All? He asked in disbelief, needing confirmation. Mr. Dawson simply shrugged and nodded. All? Sab lenge to, hazam in dega, 1,000 rupee. The seller hesitated before quoting a price. Without a second thought, Mr. Dawson grabbed all 5 scarves and handed the vendor a 1,000 rupee note. My jaw dropped at his impulsive action. The seller took the money with a bright smile, clearly thrilled. Mr. Dawson turned to me, grinning like he had won a prize. Why did you do that? I asked through gritted teeth. You got yours for 200. That's what you wanted, right? He replied casually. But, love, the other 4 are gifts from me to you. He tricked you. You just got fooled. Do you even realize that? I huffed. Come on, stop bargaining with poor vendors, he said, his tone softer. It might not matter to us if we pay an extra 50, but it makes a difference to him. And look, you got all the colors you wanted and he's happy too. He gestured towards the vendor. I turned to look at the man, who was now beaming at the 1,000 rupee note in his hands. The sight struck a chord deep within me. Mr. Dawson is right. It does matter to him. His words had just taught me something valuable. We never bargain when we go to restaurants, pizza places, malls, or supermarkets. But we always haggle with these poor vendors who spend their entire day standing in the scorching sun. They work hard for their daily living, and when we insist on paying less, we don't just reduce their earnings, we take away their ability to buy food for their families. Oh my God, What have I been doing all this time? Hey, are you okay? I heard Mr. Dawson's voice, pulling me from my thoughts. I looked up at him. Yes, you're right. I was so wrong. Shaking my head, I added, just a minute. I turned back and walked towards the vendor. Bhaiya, ye lijiye aapke 250. I said, handing him an additional 250 rupees. Are madam, our scarf nahi hai. The vendor replied, genuinely confused. Nahi, ye aapke family ke liye hai. Sorry, bhaiya, aapse jagda karne ke liye. Please rakh lijiye. I insisted, feeling ashamed for my earlier behavior. The man hesitated for a moment, then took the money, his eyes glistening with tears. Thank you, madam. AOP aur aapke pati hamesha sukhi rahen. My eyes widened in shock as he blessed both me and Mr. Dawson, assuming he was my husband. What? I turned my head instinctively to look at Mr. Dawson, who was oblivious to the conversation. He was simply watching with a proud smile, clearly pleased with my gesture. I gave the vendor one last smile and walked back to Mr. Dawson. Thank you, I said sincerely as I stood before him. He simply smirked and gestured forward. After you, Miss Lavanya Verma. We spent the rest of the evening sampling more street food, picking out small decorative pieces, and even enjoying a few rides. Finally, as we left the fair, we wandered into a nearby park. It was quieter, more secluded. The clock read 6:45 p.m. We sat together on a large swing, and I placed the shopping bag down beside me. Despite it being the rainy season, the sky was clear, dotted with countless stars. I sighed, gazing up at them, while Mr. Dawson gently rocked the swing with his feet against the ground. Suddenly he chuckled. I turned my head to look at him. What? I asked, smiling in confusion as he slowly shook his head. I never imagined that my first date with you would be like this, he said, still laughing. My smile vanished instantly. Date? My mind went blank at the word. I sat there in stunned silence, unable to respond. Noticing my reaction, he turned to look at me, his expression shifting from amusement to something more serious, his gaze intense.
Author's POV. For several moments they simply stared at each other, neither speaking, both caught in an unspoken tension. Lavanya's lips were slightly parted, her eyes questioning, searching his for answers. Finally, Mr. Dawson broke the silence. You know, last night I had a dream about you, he murmured. Lavanya blinked. Dream? She repeated, slightly furrowing her brows. Yeah, a dream. About you and me, on a date in a quiet candlelit restaurant, he said, his voice soft. The surprising thing was you were wearing this exact color. His eyes drifted over her dress, which, coincidentally, happens to be my favorite color. And the most interesting part? We were in my homeland, San Francisco. He looked up at the sky as he spoke, lost in thought. Lavanya listened without interrupting, unsure of what to say. She didn't understand what her flirtatious boss was trying to convey, or why he was telling her all this. So she simply watched him in silence, both amused and bewildered. It was beautiful. He sighed dreamily, then turned his gaze back to her. But today, he smiled. Today is the best day of my life. I could never have planned such a wonderful date. Her breath hitched. I spent the whole day with you, he continued, his voice more certain now. And you know what? I'm happy when I'm with you. He nodded slightly as if confirming the thought to himself. You make me feel good about myself. An awkward silence followed. Lavanya swallowed, unsure of how to respond. Then, after gathering his courage, he spoke again. Do Do you remember the story you told me about the Taj Mahal? She gave him a weak smile and nodded. Well, after the trip, I read more about it, he said. I found out that the emperor also wanted to build another Taj Mahal, right in front of the original one, but this time using black marble. He never got the chance because he was overthrown and died in captivity. He paused. Sad, isn't it? He wiggled his eyebrows playfully, as if waiting for her reaction. She slowly shook her head, indicating she hadn't known that part of the history. His lips curved into a smile. I noticed the tiny white replicas of the Taj Mahal being sold in the market. Tourists were buying them in droves, but I didn't, he admitted, because I didn't find them unique. What really fascinated me was the black Taj Mahal, the one that was never built. His eyes held hers as he spoke, and Lavanya found herself drawn in, hanging on to every word, though she still had no idea where he was going with this. So, tonight before I leave, I wanted to give someone a gift, he said, his voice softer now. Something I once dreamed of being the most unique present an Indian girl has ever received from an American boy. Reaching for his jacket on the swing seat, he pulled out a small red velvet box and placed it gently in his right palm. Slowly, with deliberate care, he opened it. Lavanya's eyes widened in astonishment. Oh my God! It was the only thing she could say after sitting in silence for so long, listening to him speak. Her jaw dropped in disbelief as she glanced at him, then back at the exquisite object resting inside the box.